When did you know it was time to leave that current lab? And how did the George Church opportunity arise?
I was working at this lab, and internally, I knew after some time that it was not the best fit. It was not how I planned, expected it. It was great to learn all the engineering tools, but the key insight I had was biology is self assembled, whereas engineering, in some ways, the mindset is to 3D print it into something. I'm not saying that's not a bad idea and so on, but to me, I found the idea of self assembly more elegant. So I started thinking about what are the minimal set of conditions by which I can grow a brain into its structure or an organism, coming from developmental biology background. So I sort of like the tools, but I've philosophically sort of finding that. So that was sort of, I happening where I couldn't see myself fitting as well in that, trying to build a human amygdala by printing these cells and so on. I was in the streets actually walking in Kendall Square when I saw George Church walking by. And it was very serendipitous that I started talking to him. And, ended up being a thing. Actually, there's a backstory to this. I admired George Church a lot. I had heard his talk, but it was very different. Synthetic biology was not really my space deeply at the time. My wife also did PhD in the same university. She noticed and she said, you know what, George Church would be the perfect person for you. And I said, yeah, I like him, but I don't really know a lot of synthetic biology. That's a very different space. And his talk also was so high that I was not sure if I really appreciated all the details. She said, look, you're curious, and no matter what you do, you're going to find it interesting after a few conversations. I thought it was very interesting. I saw George walking by. I recognized him by the large beard and I started talking, shook my hand, said, I'm Ishwar, and so on. And I told him I'm really passionate about technology development and I want to build this human brain on a chip. And he was extremely kind and receptive. One thing about George is how humble and how down to earth, how comfortable he can make you feel. So we ended up walking for a long time. And one of the things that he told me that impressed upon me was he too failed his ninth grade, which my wife said, do not tell anyone in your interview that you failed your ninth grade. But I mentioned it to him and he said, oh, you know what? I too failed my ninth grade. No, that's okay. And so it was a really, sometimes, having good role models is valuable.